It's time for us to re-rack all the pool balls, and let's talk about the college football program rankings. We do them on the show once a year, and the way we define a program around here is a little different than the way we define a team. So college football programs, we try and nail them down on a few pieces of rolling 3-year criteria. So we want to zoom in on, for example, how good are you at talent acquisition over the past several years? Over the past 3 years. We want to know, how are you doing on field? You know, if you tanked in 2023, but you really surged in 24 and 25, we're going to aggregate all that. We're probably going to lean a little bit more recency bias. I want to know how good your resource pool is. You broke? In other words, there's no room for Porzies in the top 10, top 12 of the program rankings. Organizational stability matters a lot to me. Here, for example, like Oregon. Oregon's had some churn. They're not the only one. But Oregon had an offensive coordinator in Kenny Dillingham walk out the door to go be his own head coach. And then they brought in Will Stein. And that showed me they really know what they're doing in hiring, because now Will Stein is a head coach. So that sort of thing. Ryan Day lost 2 coordinators and backfilled them with really solid replacements. So that sort of thing matters. And we take all of this stuff, we put it in a blender, we add just a touch of expectation, just a touch of forward thinking, maybe predictive. Hey, where do we think the program's headed? And we pour it all out, and those are our program rankings. I don't think I really left anything out there. Portal and recruiting obviously matter combined when it comes to talent acquisition. So here's how I see the top 10 programs in the country right now. I think Ohio State's the top program in the country. Ohio State is 37-6 over the past 3 years. They've got a national championship mixed in here. They are a top 5 recruiting program in the country. They're a very, very high value portal program. Translation, they don't need to flood themselves with a bunch of transfers because they recruit and develop very well. But when they do need to, they can be very selective and they can be very effective in the transfer portal. And they're just excellent at staffing. I don't know that many programs at all are doing it better. Just think about what's happened within this past 3 years at Ohio State. You had 2 coordinator turnover situations. Just this past year it happened. And then you lose Chip Kelly, who was a foundational piece of that run, and you elevate from within. But then also you go and you get Matt Patricia because Jim Knowles moves on. And if anything, they improved defensively, which is just really hard to do. So that is supreme organizational structure there. Ohio State is here as long as Ryan Day's there. And then even above and beyond Ryan Day, not to overlook him, one of the best doing it right now, but even to move beyond him, Ohio State as a program has been resilient over the past several head coaches they've had. So it's just been a winning program. I would move on to number 2, and I would say Georgia. Georgia's the number 2 program in the country right now, per the Pate State program rankings, 36-6. Over the past 3 years, you got back-to-back SEC championships woven in here. They're a back-to-back playoff team, and it was a 4-teamer in 2023, or they would have been in there by today's standards 3 years in a row. They are the top recruiter in the SEC and the nation, blended over a 3-year rolling period, and it's another excellent outfit when it comes to staffing. If we did a head coaching draft and I had first pick, I'd probably go Kirby Smart. And if you made me go second and I had to take Ryan Day, I wouldn't be upset with that at all. But bottom line is, you've got really, really established coordinators there. Really great culture, really great way of doing things. So I got Georgia at number 2. This is where it gets a little controversial. But at number 3, I'm putting Indiana. I understand that this is a very, very extreme example, but Indiana's at number 3 for me in the program rankings. They came from out of nowhere. They weren't top 10 last year because we kind of try not to fall victim to extreme recency bias. This time last year, Indiana had come from out of nowhere, and Kurt Cignetti had risen them from the dead, and they went to the playoff, but then they got beat pretty soundly in the playoffs, and we were trying to ask ourselves, okay, that means their team was great, but a program is a 3-year rolling blend, right? So we tried to not be prisoners of the moment, but now what did they do as the follow-up act? They went and won the Big Ten. They went to the playoff again. They won the national championship. They steamrolled folks largely in the process. And so now they're 27-2 over the last 2 years. They just won the conference and national title. The head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator combination here may be as good as anyone in the country has. The talent acquisition profile now is surging. And so, yeah, while I still technically have to define this as a 3-year rolling blend, we've got to have extreme 2-year recency bias here. And then the part where I do allow myself to look forward a little bit, their program's in as good a position as anyone. And the reason it's not some one-hit wonder, the reason it's not some unicorn, Johnny come lately and now they'll fade back off into the abyss type efforts is because they've got elite resources there too, which we've just now come to realize about Indiana, kind of as a college football public. I got Indiana at number 3. I know it's an extreme example, but everything about what they have done is extreme or an outlier, so to speak. So yeah, we have to have rules around here, but we have to make room for an outlier that kind of comes in and just challenges everything about your college football worldview. Number 4, a team that they beat twice last year, Oregon. I'd put Oregon as the number 4 program in the country right now, 38-4 over that last 3-year period. They got back-to-back playoff appearances. They won the Big Ten 2 years ago. They are the top recruiting program in the Big Ten over that rolling 3-year snapshot. They have had coaching churn there too. When it comes to really valuing organizational structure, think about what they've gone through. Think about the fact that Kenny Dillingham was there, and he was so good that he got his own shot to be a head coach at Arizona State, and they had to go make a hire. And they brought in Will Stein. Most people hadn't heard of Will Stein when Dan Lanning went and got him. And then Will Stein and his offense didn't fall off one bit, so much so that now Will Stein himself has gotten a head coaching job, and now they're promoting from within again, and you start to just blindly trust that they really know what they're doing there. Dan Lanning's one of the best head coaches in the country. They've got excellent resources, love the culture there. Oregon has 1 or 2 major hurdles to clear. You know, they've got a lot that they have cleared, although nothing's guaranteed. You start over from scratch every year, but they've got that one big hurdle once they get to the playoffs. Don't let an Ohio State be in your way. Don't fall victim to what Indiana did to you last year. But see, outside of that, there's not much between them and the top. And that's why I've got them behind Indiana. I've got them behind Ohio State. Speaking of the depth in the Big Ten, man, being 4th in the country means being 3rd in the Big Ten right now in the program rankings. So, I mean, for a show that reeks of SEC bias, I don't see it in the program rankings at least. So I've got Oregon at number 4. Number 5, we debated internally where to put this team, this program. Actually, not all that long. Texas is number 5 for us. Got Texas as the number 5 program in the country. They're 35-8 over the last 3 years. College football playoff in 23 and 24. They missed out last year, but they're a top 5 recruiter in the country over that 3-year span. They're very elite in the portal, just crushing it in the portal. They've, of course, got elite resources. And the thing about Texas being at number 5 is you could make the argument that you think their best is still ahead of them. Like if you're doing the predictive thing, if you're kind of cutting one eye over to the side of 2026 and beyond, there's still room to climb for them. They really haven't realized their maximum potential yet. So to be saying that about someone and they're sitting there number 5 has them in pretty good position. I put Notre Dame at number 6. Quick 5-second timeout. Check and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It keeps it free. We love you. All right, back to the show. I always get pushback on Notre Dame. You can't please anyone with Notre Dame. Notre Dame, number 6 program in the country currently. 34-7 the last 3 years. There's a national championship berth mixed in there 2 years ago. The recruiting keeps leveling up. Like they were always a very good recruiter, but they've kind of leveled up to being a great recruiter. They had the number 2 class in the country this last cycle per on 3. Elite culture. Could not think any more highly of the culture at Notre Dame. You got to love them this year. So again, if you want to do the peek ahead thing, when you're defining a program's status, I'm not pushing back on you if you say Notre Dame maybe should be a tick higher. I think we got them right at number 6, though. First whale breach of the show. Yes. Number 7. We got Alabama at number 7. There was a little internal debate here as well. So Alabama, the number 7 program in the country right now, at 32-10 over the past 3 years. You've got 2 playoff appearances there, 23 and 25. You got a conference title in 2023. They've been the number 2 recruiter in the nation over that 3-year span. And there's been a handoff during that period from a legendary head coach to a new head coach, and things didn't fall off a cliff. You could say they regressed a little bit, but I also argue there were some very, very unique challenges that weren't apparent on the surface, at least, to the handoff that came from Nick Saban stepping away and handing it to anyone. It happened to be Kalen DeBoer. So we're rolling 3-year snapshot here. Alabama was never going to fall off overnight, even if they did fall off, and I'm not suggesting that they are, but it's important to remember now, got them at number 7. So if anyone pushes back, number 7's not number 1. Number 7's not 2 or 3. There are programs we got ahead of Alabama right now. The reason I always have to caveat it with Bama and Notre Dame is because Bama and Notre Dame are the 2 programs/teams that we always get the most wide variety of comments for in any kind of video we do or any kind of point we make about them. And you can come up with your reasons as to why that is. But I'll take Alabama at number 7 right now. Where would you put Miami? Was what we were asking ourselves earlier today. I've got Miami as the number 8 program in the country. Currently, it's very tough to nail them down because there's a 7-win season factored in the past 3 years. And we're valuing the past 3 years, rolling blend of the past 3 years when it comes to this. But the thing about that 7-win season is it was in 2023. And then the following year, they went 10-3. And then the following year, a.k.a. this past year, they went 13-3. They played for a national championship. They were at midfield, down 6 with a minute to go and a chance to win the thing against the best team in the country, the eventual national champ in Indiana. They're the number 1 recruiter in their conference by a wide margin. They're the top portal player in their conference and one of the top portal players in the country. And they've made big staff upgrades. You talk about organizational structure. Okay, they had Lance Guidry down there as their defensive coordinator. Not close. And then Mario goes to Minnesota and gets Corey Heatherman. And immediately, just overnight, using some of the same players they had the year before, they're one of the top defenses in the country. So, I think they're leveling up. They're in the process of leveling up. I'd put Miami at number 8 right now. I'd say the same thing about the next program. We got Texas A&M at number 9. Very similar vibe to Miami. Honestly, Miami beating them in the playoff last year was probably the tiebreaker we needed to put Miami ahead of them. These are very comparable programs, though. So A&M, same vibe as Miami. They've gone from 7 wins to 8 wins to 11 wins in that 3-year rolling period. They went to the playoff last year. They've got back-to-back top 8 recruiting classes. They are a very, very elite portal player in their own right. And Mike Elko, when he was at Duke, and then when he came to Texas A&M, 2 of the things that we were counting on when we talked about it on this show was they will evaluate very good, they'll develop very good. The benefit to go into A&M is you get this massive pool of resources just tossed in the mix. And so that doesn't hurt. And I think, much like Texas really, that I was talking about a second ago, you could argue their best is still ahead of them. So it's going to be really fun to watch them moving forward. And then at number 10, had a lot of programs in the mix here. We could have put Tennessee here. We could have put Texas Tech here. You could make some outside arguments for maybe an LSU or an Oklahoma or Penn State could be in that mix. I put Michigan at number 10 still. I care about the rolling 3-year blend. That's why we're trying to factor that in when we define program instead of just what did you do in the last 5 minutes. In the last 3 years, yes, Michigan has had a coaching change, but I would argue it's a weird factor because they upgraded at head coach as part of that coaching change. But there's a national championship mixed in the last 3 years. There's a 2-1 record against your biggest rival in Ohio State in the past 3 years. They're a top 15 recruiter in the past 3 years. It's a big year coming up. Now, the difference with them versus some of these other teams is some of these other teams you look and you feel pretty good that they're about to kill it this upcoming year. I feel great about Notre Dame this upcoming year. I feel okay about Michigan. I mean, you really got to take advantage of Bryce Underwood while you have him, and they're trying everything they can. But I'd put Michigan still at number 10. That's how much we value, things like winning a championship and being very competitive, if not better, than your rival over a rolling 3-year stretch. See, here's the difference. The difference is if you're just judging teams, Michigan 2-1. How could they be 10 with Ohio State at 1? Well, because those other factors outweigh the on-field head-to-head. As much as on-field results are what it's about, that's how you grade teams. We're grading programs here. So there's more to it than just that. Like I said, we'd put Texas Tech there. Couldn't argue with that. Tennessee, I put it 12. Texas Tech and Tennessee would be my 11 and 12. Probably have LSU somewhere close, Oklahoma, Penn State. So those are the program rankings. Send them out, send them in. Can't wait to get the feedback. Always constructive feedback, you'll notice. Yes, always constructive feedback. It'll sound a little something like, I'm not hating on people. We have fun with this. I'm just saying the most popular form of feedback we would get on this is, let's take A&M, for example. A&M's way too low, period. That's it. You're crazy for having Oregon where you do, period. There is no follow-up with, here's how the entire top 10 should look. This is a comparative thing. You can't just hate Oregon and say Oregon's overrated. Well, what are they rated? What should they be rated? Who should be above them? Do you define the criteria the same as I do? If you don't, we're having separate arguments here.